Alright, so we're doing the pre-show thing. Pre-show. So I guess we now got to basically futz around here and mess around and what have you. But eventually we will be signing on to Facebook. Dark in here. What the heck, man? Hopefully that's just my screen brightness. Let me see if I can't make that a little better. Yeah, well, yeah, whatever. Too much. Let me screw around here a second. Maybe I might find something a little bit better. Let me try my old shutter trick. A little bit better. Oh well, it'll be a little bit darker, but you know, it'll still go. So, whatever. Let me get things going on here and fire things up on the Facebook side of things, and you know, that 5-minute 2 thing where I usually do the lead in and what have you, and then finally do something on Facebook. But you know, I'm not really doing it so much per se on the standard way. Woo. Got me cola bottles. Good shit, isn't it? Anyway, so pop one of these bad boys. Ow. Always a needed item. So the DUDEJERKY, well, translation Dude Studio, the DUDEJERKY is now being, like, you know, conjigured around, and we'll figure out some way, shape, and form to make things right. And I'd rave. one of my tortoise shells looking for attention, so now she's like underneath my desk. Hi, hello. She's looking to get petted. So she's here, Orange is here, and now I have kitties out the yin yang. All right, so anyway, excuse me, guys. Back to what I'm doing here. All right, so show stuff now sort of completed. Now just waiting to fire up on things on Facebook. So yeah, without further ado, I'm just gonna fire things up here. So you know, we'll move on from there. And you guys had a little bit of pre-show, so it would be archived, of course, on YouTube, and hopefully the dropouts that take place on this on Facebook don't happen on that on YouTube. So we'll move on from there, move out smartly, and let me get another window opened up here on Facebook so I have my, you know, spiel, as it were, my standard spiel. Usually what it is I'll tend to archive stuff on Facebook, and that's when I'll kind of do my, you know, news and review thing. But the biggest problem is sometimes on Facebook there's such lag on your timeline. You're just waiting and waiting and waiting for something to have happen that it just takes forever for you to scroll through your own timeline. So then it becomes a case of, you know, you're futzing around with your timeline. You're trying to actually get, like, some nuance of just, you know, like, just looking at stuff that happens somewhat in real time. Of course, now I have pretty much about the better part of almost a month to catch up on, because it's been for so very, very, very damn long since I've done an actual podcast. But I guess we'll move on from there and move out smartly and do that stuff that we need to do. So, coming up on the timeline. Still scrolling. And usually what I'll do is I'll run down to the point where I find, like, a previous show, and that's where I'll stop. And then I'll start reading off my timeline from there, and move out smartly and do the stuff that we need to have happen. One of my friends posted something really cool. One of my forward posts, I just had to stop on that one. But yeah, let me scrolly. I've been really riding a couple comments and like there's been a couple of subjects I've been really riding on. So let me go down. Jesus, man, when did I actually do my last show? You know what? I'm not going much further. I'm looking at like December. Okay, that's far enough. All right, so let me fire things up on Facebook here and get things going on and good stuff like that there and usual goodness, and hopefully people want to watch me and good stuff like that there. So, Facebook, we are live 5x5. Let me get my angle of attack here slightly better. Because what the part of the problem is, okay, so Beetlejuice, live 5x5. If you guys are here, you're here. If you're not here, we're moving on and doing other stuff. Cynthia, appreciate you coming on by. You link first in the room, so you get your gold star for attendance. So essentially now we find ourselves back with the Live Dude podcast. Been a long time. Essentially, I think precursor to Christmas, I think was the previous one. I'm not going that far back in my timeline, okay? I mean, I truthfully could go that far back, and I'll be pulling stuff out and, you know, all the various, oh, yeah, well, this came to notice, and I noticed this was really cool, and I'm going to be doing this stuff like that there. Logan Ray, appreciate you coming on by, dude. Logan, I'm going to private message you a comic that I came up with that I think you'll get a laugh out of. And it's kind of like poking a little bit of fun at the Canuckastanis, but you know, you guys have a good sense of humor, and we basically make fun of each other because you know we're pretty much two guys from like the same continent who pretty much are like, oh, those guys south. So it's like you guys are like, oh, you guys south, and you're talking about the Yanks, and then we're like, oh, you guys south, we're talking about the Mexicans, and the Mexicans are like, oh, you guys south, and they're talking about the South Americans. So it's pretty much like everybody has like an axe to grind with the guy that's just south of them. That's just how it works. All right, so let me open up the show with maybe pulling the curtain back just a little bit here. But the niece of mine that does reside with me, she, I don't know how this happened. Oh, I do know how it happened because that's what the kids gravitating towards nowadays. She is an Apple fanatic. And of all things, she really likes the Apple products. You know, of course, she has the Apple, I think it's a 10. I don't think it's an 11. I think it's an Apple iPhone 10. She has the iPhone watch. You know, all that little, you know, self-masturbatory, you know, action that comes from riding the Apple program. Abram, appreciate you coming by, dude. But anyway, so way, shape, and form, essentially, she has an i10. So, the iPhone 10. Now, you guys can't see it, of course, because it's now off to this side, off on my right. You're obviously going to be looking at things in inverse, so it's obviously going to be to the other side of the screen. But I do a backlog about my shows. I've started doing backlog, and I use my Samsung S5 Galaxy. Now, you can look up the stuff online, and they say that the Samsung S5 was like badass. It was, you know, it was the hot rod phone from 2014. So you ask yourself, why am I still rocking a phone from hot rod times of 2014? Julie, appreciate your comments and likes there, and I appreciate that one. But essentially, the biggest reason is simply this. Most modern phones nowadays are what's known as essentially just a candy bar. There is no slider on it. There is no, like, you know, pop-out keyboard, you know, like, or it has a built-in, you know, like functional physical keyboard like the BlackBerries had. The biggest reason why I'm sticking with that one is I'm going to show you this one on my S3, which is pretty much so archaic that I really don't even play with anymore, but it still works. The biggest reason is simply this. On my S5, it gets low. I can pop the back, I can take out a battery, and I can go, oh, look, that battery's dead. It's time to change it out. And I can simply just pop in yet another battery. So, essentially, by replacing the battery, I now have got a completely recharged phone, ready to do everything that it needs to do, and, these snap-on cases, I have them on all my phones just, you know, out of habit. That's just That's just how I roll. I have all these phones with a snap-on case because it's an extra layer of protection. If I drop them, essentially it's an extra bumper. It will protect them. I dropped this one face on, and I did crack the glass like right over the selfie camera. You can see maybe just a little bit of a line down the middle of the screen. I don't know if you guys could really see it so much on the Facebook side, but there is a line down the middle of the screen, and of course there's a little bit of star action over here. And if I do use the selfie cam on this, it's kind of fogged because the cracks run through the camera viewpoint of the S3. Now, on the S5, there is no such item. But, truthfully, spare batteries, man. Spare batteries. I can walk around, and I actually do have a standalone charger for this one. I bought, on eBay years ago. So I go on trips, I take this guy, I plug it in. It's recharging a battery as I'm using another battery. It all uses mini. I mean, it uses USB mini plugs. Everybody uses USB mini plugs for pretty much everything. So it's the easiest thing in the world to find a charging place for, because I simply just jack a mini in there. Of course, everybody's now going on with the USB-C, which is kind of cool because you can take the plug. There is no wrong way to plug it in. If you're nice to your phone, you don't mess up the socket. Now, the other thing, too, is also, now getting over to the iPhone side of things, the build quality on the iPhone and the Apple products, per se, has been just horrendous. I mean, I've heard all kinds of cold solder joints, build quality issues, the little smart intelligence bar that supposedly is like this little cute display that you can, walk and talk on, also besides the keyboard. There's a guy by the name of Louis Rossmann that is on YouTube, and I watch his stuff almost religiously. The guy is like hilarious, and he does nothing but huge business doing repairs on Apple products. People bring in their MacBooks, and they're always crash and burn, or somebody spilled the most minute amount of liquid on it, and things just completely fritzed. The other thing too is also just the build quality that he's experienced and he's watched over the course of time. Apple pretty much has said, okay, we're going to build a piece of crap and you're going to buy it because it's an Apple product. You guys are so beholden to us, blah, 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 blah. So that seems to be the case of what's going on right now, is the build quality for the Apple products is just horrible. But like I said, I am still rocking an S5. It's been not updated at all. It's still a 16 gig phone. The only thing I've ever done is upgrade the size of the card. And this one, I'm running a 32 gig card. On that one, on my S5, I'm running a 64 gig card. I believe it'll support up to 128 gigs, which for an older phone, that is a big honking hard drive. And then if you really, really, really want to get down and dirty, hang on a second here. I need to start scruffling around here. Okay, if you want to really, really get down and dirty, hardcore, all the rest of it, an SD micro card is nothing. It's the size of your little fingernail, man. You could have like 20 of these things in your wallet, and you would have literally the hard drive equivalent to the computers that we pretty much had only 5 or 6 years ago. So we haven't quite come out with a card yet that is quantity of T, but yeah, a 1T hard drive external is they're cheap, man. This is like a 2T, I think, and it was only about $90. They're now coming down quite a lot. I mean, I'm now seeing 2Ts for $60. So memory's getting cheaper all the time, and all the rest of the good stuff like that there. So to go round to what my niece was experiencing, so she got this iPhone 10, and she's like, oh, it's the best thing ever. It's the perfect color. Of course, it does all the little stupid glitchy communication stuff the kids are all doing nowadays. Where they basically just, they pretty much, okay, really what it is truly is they're staring at their phone and they're doing these stupid little 5-second videos where all mugging for the camera. That's all their content, man. I've seen a million of those videos and it's all the same thing. They're basically just goofing off in front of the camera for 5 seconds. That's the whole content. So really, truthfully, the phones are not that stressed. However, hers had a situation where either the preamp or the speaker or something else was glitching up, and literally the phone would start getting really fuzzy at higher volumes. It'd start staticking out and fritzing out, and just the sound quality was really bad. Well, our carrier is Verizon, and luckily, thank the stars up above, she had a screen protector on there, so she's never actually done like the standard kid thing that they do with iPhones, is drop them and just, splat. Typically, you could ask anybody with an iPhone, and they crack the glass, and they're like, yeah, it's not so bad. I'll simply just live with it. And everybody with an iPhone cracked glass rides it out as they have it. They're not going to fix it for the very simple reason is, if you look at an iPhone, if you crack the front glass, it's like a couple $100. If you crack the back glass, it's like $600 or $700. Plus labor, plus fixing it, plus you may as well just throw the phone out and just get a new phone. So anyway, we did the full service plan because we're not going to buy, a sub $1,000 phone for like some ungodly amount of money and have like no guarantee on it. So she does have like, the warranty on it. And we got a hold of the guys, and they're like, oh, yeah, well, we went to Best Buy. And they're like, yeah, that's nice, Geek Squad. They're like, yeah, that's nice. If the glass was broken, we could fix it. But something internal like that, no, that's beyond us. You probably should just simply go through the warranty center and let those guys hash it out and figure out who's who and what's what. So they now refer us off to the place of purchase, which was literally the Verizon store. I don't know if you guys have that up north in Canada, but essentially Verizon is like the big carrier, huge carrier in the United States. Like probably it's like the better part of about 60 to 68% of the business in the United States in terms of phone traffic and whatnot is on Verizon. They are the big name. They used to be known as, Ma Bell. So they actually were like, the Bell Telephone Company and all the rest of those things. They became Verizon, which became then the wireless company. There's very few people nowadays that actually have a wired phone in their houses. Most people simply just use a smartphone. Failing that, if you can't use the smartphone function, you still can use the voice over internet protocols, using Wi-Fi and whatnot. Every phone, if you use it correctly, does have Wi-Fi, does have Bluetooth, does have all those other things on board. So technically, you really, truly don't even need to have phone service if you're willing to simply just say, hey, leave me a voicemail message on my VoIP. I'll check in and I'll find the voicemail. I'll call you back on VoIP when I have Wi-Fi available. All the rest of that fun stuff, you can do that as well. But going back to what she had, was the phone, of course, was now suffering the foibles of being an Apple product and suffering the build quality issues. Of course, stuff made in China. And most stuff is made in China in terms of electronics. But the other thing, too, is also it's a case of how was it made, how did the parent company say, produce it in this way of doing things? Because the Chinese have basically 3 ways of doing things. 1, you're not looking, we're going to screw you in the process. We're going to make it as cheap as possible, get it to you as cheap as possible. We're going to make, the profit as much as possible. You bought junk. The second way is, okay, you're now watching us, so we're going to make some stuff that's good, some stuff that's junk, some stuff that's utter crap, but we're going to ship it all in the same shipping package. The third way is where you say, look, this better be all good stuff or you will lose the contract. We'll go talk to the Koreans and whatnot. And the Chinese are like, no, stay with us. We'll make good stuff. We won't screw you over. We promise. In the process of doing that, they then take your intellectual property, backdoor it, and make their own version from what they stole. Now, there is some other stuff that you guys need to know about. There's 2 websites that you want to make sure that your phone is not calling home on. And I'm thinking that my phone not being an iPhone and my phone being old enough is not going to do it. There's 2 websites you need to know about, and one is CNS.com, and the other one is CNS360.com. What those are is they are 2 Chinese companies. Excuse me 1 second here. 2 Chinese companies that have come up with these programs that are hard installed in Samsung products and in Android products, and of course in all iPhone products. And it's a memory purge program, I think what it is. But the downside is as a backup, it's sending this information back to CNS.com and CNS360.com. Now, the guy that works for CNS.com has already pretty much said, well, yeah, but if the Chinese ask for it, I'm just going to give them whatever they want. I mean, that's just me being a good party member. So, all your information, your potential secured items, your passwords, those places where you tend to go and need to log in might be getting kicked back to China, and China might be going, oh, good, we have your information, we're going to log into your stuff, and we're going to play with your technological information. Hi, Brave. She's back again. My tortoise shell, the mother tortoise shell, not the daughter tortoise shell, she's like underneath looking for scritchies. Just give me 1 second. If I don't pet her, she'll just keep pestering me. I'll get the tail whapping into me. Hello, Brave. Hello. Okay, so anyway, those two websites you really truly need to worry about. CNS.com, CNS360.com. Both of those you need to probably make sure that your phone's not calling home. If you search on the internet about like these things being backdoored, some guy was actually found out about it, and the way that you turn them off gets really involved because it is a hardwired program into your phone. So literally you have to either install a hardcore blocking program, or you have to go into your phone and actually root your phone. Now, if any of you guys know about rooting your phone, essentially what you're doing there is you have gone into your phone and you've gone into the actual programming mode, and you are now basically telling Android, I want you to work differently than the way that you're actually working. Is that actually something that's going to be like a warranty item? No, because if you mess up, you have bricked your phone. Translation, your phone, if you try to turn it on, it's going to look like this because everything on board in terms of the operating system just went, I don't know. And you just screwed yourself. Be really, really careful about rooting your phone, those backdoor things, and that kind of stuff where you can really, really, really sketch things out. Trust me, in the hard-won knowledge of computer stuff, I have crashed a few computers in my time. Not pretty, and pretty much had to figure out the hard way on how to fix stuff. Also, pretty much had to figure out through, just being involved in the things, what I like and what I don't like. I'm not using my laptop at the moment. I probably am just going to continue using it in like other way, shape, and form. But it's a Win 10. I don't like Win 10. I actually had to go through there in 3 or 4 different ways and tell it to stop calling home for updates. Oh, excuse me. I got this like just out of sight, folks. It's kind of driving me a little bit crazy here. The Haribo Happy Cola bottles. Yeah, they're like the gummy cola bottles. They're damn addictive. Excuse me 1 second here. You just can't avoid them, man. They're really just addictive. So anyway, technologically speaking, those are just a couple things I've noticed along by the wayside. I am so not impressed with, with the exception, and I do mean the glaring exception, and huge glaring exception. I'm talking about like original iPods. I have the iPod with like the monster. This one has 160 gig drive iPod. There's so much room in this thing. It's just disgusting. This one being a 4 gig iPod 2, I think it is. This one, of course, being the old school original iPod. And they all work. I mean, I can let the things sit around. They basically kill their own batteries because they're constantly, checking things and, making sure that everything's working. So they run their own batteries down. That said, I can leave the things dead for like months and months and months and months and months. Throw them back on the charger and they'll boot right back up. No issue at all. They all just, kick ass. And they have tons and tons and tons of just perfect execution. Why? Major reason being is because Steve Jobs was such an asshole. That's the reason why he was such a raging asshole that it had to work. If he was involved, it had to work. Needless to say, he was such an asshole that Apple eventually fired him. Then they started killing the company by not raging asshole, and they said, oh no, we need the raging asshole back. So they hired him back yet again. Excuse me 1 second here. So anyway, in terms of the build quality, I'm truly not impressed. Samsung has actually slipped up to a degree as well. The Pixels, okay, the scary part about like the Google Pixel phone, it has the best camera in the business, which is truly scary because you can ask anybody, and the audio programs and the editing programs, and of course simply just the sound quality, just recording video and recording, any kind of media or taking pictures or what have you, Apple iPhones are the best. I mean, that's literally it. But in terms of the camera quality, the Google Pixel is the best. Google Pixel build quality is just like, it's just crap. I mean, you pick the thing up, it feels like a TV remote. I mean, it feels like a plastic piece of crap with some, glass face on it, and you're like, oh, wow, this is really, and you're like, no, it's not good stuff. Then beyond the fact of simply just, oh yeah, it's powered by Android, it's Google's phone. This is powered by Android, which is pretty much based in Linux and Google technology. And believe me, when I'm truly using an Android phone, it's just easy. I mean, I know there's some little glitchy things that are just, you got to know Android for Android. I mean, truthfully though, I got to say the one thing that the iPhone had going for it was cleaning it out. They basically told us in the phone store how to clean it out. My niece, and this is simply because it has non-removable technology in terms of memory, but she uses the cloud. So all of her stuff goes to the cloud, which for a teenager, not so much of a big deal. For me, I don't care how secure they say it is. I want everything on board in a card. I can take it out. I know it's no longer in the device. I know it's a secured item because I've removed it. There is no connection whatsoever with the internet. There's no connection whatsoever with anybody else on the planet. It is secure because I'm holding this piece of technology that is not connected anywhere. The other thing too is also in terms of the update. Yeah, she was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to look this, that, and the other thing, and she basically logged in on Wi-Fi. So using the secure home Wi-Fi, logged into iCloud, downloaded all her files into the new phone, looked at the old phone, basically compared the two, set the two things up, side by side. And the thing is, she ordered the same color phone. So when it came time to take out the SIM card on the SIM card drawer, I literally pulled out the entire drawer from the new phone, pulled out the entire drawer from the old phone, and plugged the old entire drawer into the new phone and the old drawer into the old phone, just to make sure that there was absolutely no discrepancy whatsoever. I didn't want to take the SIM card out just to be on the safe side. I just basically flipped drawers. But that's the only access that you really, truly, physically have with an iPhone. There is no headphone jack. Oh, yeah, well, you can't have that headphone jack. That might allow ingress of dirt and stuff. Oh, no, you only have this one plug on the bottom. Guys, that's like the best thing ever to have an older technology phone is I can be running the external headphone jack and plugged in, charging the phone, or running something else off the actual plug. I mean, it's easy tech, okay? I mean, it really, truly is just simple stuff. The biggest problem, of course, with the Lightning plug is it's proprietary. Well, they're like, well, geez, all you need now is you need to have, the iPods. So you have these cordless, little boogers just stick in your ears. Let me give you a little hint about why I really, truly don't like those guys. And I'm simply going to use the demonstrator unit that I have here. You have your iPods in your ear. You lose one. Oh, it fell down the sewer grate. It's gone. If I happen to be wearing a wired set of headphones and I drop one, oh, that was inconvenient. Okay, I missed that part of the song. I plug it back into my ear and I have lost nothing. I have both the buds still in my hot little hands. The biggest problem you have with any of these guys is, and I thought that was hilarious too, is you go, well, what if you lose one? They're like, oh yeah, they'll replace them for only half the price of the full set. It's like, obviously they know people are going to be losing one iPod at a time, and they're not going to be replacing the whole set. A non-wired earbud will fall out and get lost. If you're jogging, it pops out, and you're like, oh, where did it fall? And like, oh, no, it went down the sewer grating. Oh, some squirrel came by and snapped it up. Anything's possible, okay? That's another reason why I like the older phones, is they have actual headphone jacks. If you want to plug it into a home stereo system, there is no Bluetooth on most home stereo systems. You simply just walk up to it and you go, okay, here's an external plug. Boop, plug it in. Boop, boop, done. You now are running your entire sound file into a home system. Easy. I mean, if it came down to it and I was actually having to DJ an event, I wouldn't even think about like using like the proprietary technology on like, like those DJ boards that run a couple of iPods or something. I literally could DJ a party running off my files in my phone, queuing the next song up, and going, okay, that song's fading out. Boop. Maybe not the smoothest of transitions, but I literally could DJ a party off my freaking phone. Yes, I know iPhones have all that technology as well and what have you, but there's a lot of backwards compatible stuff that, Brave, you're back for some more. What's going on here? She's back. Anyway, so the technology is such as that sometimes the backwards technology is easier. Okay, if you want to get hardcore, really, really hardcore, looking at a classic iPod, what does it have? Oh yeah, it's got a power jack and a headphone jack. Ooh. Also known as technology that used to run off the, there was a 30 pin or whatever it was. Yeah, all that stuff was kind of funny. As a matter of fact, the last cruise I took, it was not the newest cruise ship, but it was a big cruise ship. I actually thought it was funny as hell that I plugged my iPod into the stereo system that was in the cabin, charged it up, and had the thing playing. One speaker worked, the other speaker didn't, but it worked. It worked. Nobody else is walking around running an iPod nowadays, but this boat still had the technology left over to run a freaking iPod. How cool was that, man? I was like, oh, that's hilarious. I didn't think there was going to be some time where I'd be, walking around the boat and just bored off my butt. I wanted to have my own tunes, so I brought along the iPod, the monster iPod, because I got it, I got some files on there. Truthfully, the biggest problem is I need to convert most of my songs from, WMA to, MP3, which was the final little, that basically, that Apple did to Windows, was they're like, we're going to come up with a proprietary technology that's not compatible. Do they sound the same? Pretty much. Is one better than the other? Yeah, one might have slightly more compression than the other. But is one that much better than the other that you need to only have it run off that one thing? No. As a matter of fact, I actually have, it's buried up on the shelf, but I have an MP3 player. It doesn't care if it's MP3 or WMA. You simply just drag the files on there like it's basically a stick drive, and it eats it. It runs it. It doesn't care. Apple had to be different. Always has had to be different. In terms of some of the technology, I thought was really fun. I bought this one on the precept of there's adapters where you basically break this thing down, you take it all apart, and it might be this model, or it might be the model after this one, it might be the 3, but there's just enough room in there for you to basically pop this thing apart, and you can put a compact flash card in there. And then there's adapters out where you can put like SD cards in there, and you can make the memory freaking huge. Now the thing about it is digital technology is not based on physical size. That's the coolest damn part about digital technology. It is not based on like, oh gee, well the cassette tape only holds 90 minutes or it only holds 20 minutes. Physically how much tape actually fits into the box. No, it's physically how much memory did you install into the actual device itself. I mean, if you think about it. Years ago, we would have been killing, something the size of your little fingernail. There's no way in the world why something this small just doesn't really just behold just awe and inspiration and all the rest of that good stuff for people doing stuff. I mean, it's funny, too, when you think that something that this big carries 4 gigs. Well, duh, because it's not that much different than this thing, which was hot rod at the time, carrying 4 gigs. This was just the cheaper version after, the blue guy was cheaper after the black guy. And these nanos are not cheap. Or the first generation nanos, I think it was. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Stand me corrected. This one is a 2 gig. This one is only a 2 gig. I forget that one. This one's a 4 gig. The 4 gig in this body was, like proprietary and not cheap, and if you got one, you were like the cool kid in town. But I'll tell you what, man, this thing is so easy and so portable. You can throw this thing in your pocket, and it's just absolutely just so simple, man. It's smaller than like a lot of modern devices in terms of like actual size and what have you. I mean, it's like what, maybe 6 millimeters by about 30 millimeters by maybe about maybe like 70 millimeters. It's nothing. 1/4 inch by 1.5 inches by about 3 inches. Nothing. And it's cool, too, because I also have the car adapter, so I can plug that thing in and run it through my car radio. I have the little little accessory thing. And these things are so cheap on eBay now. It's hilarious now because the technology it's come so full circle that people are like, not really rocking iPods anymore, and they're now playing with better tech and what have you and all the rest of that fun stuff. But it's still around. I mean, if you take care of them, they don't really wear out, because it's not like you're just running a tape and running a tape and running a tape and running a tape and wearing out a tape. It's digital technology. Essentially, as long as the guts are working, the guts are working. That's just it. There is no wearing out. You'll play the song until you're sick of it. Logan, you will be happy to note, though, on my workout yesterday, I was listening to Rush in honor of Neil Peart, officer of Canada. And he will be missed. The professor was definitely profound. Let me scrolling. Oh yeah, this was an annoying bit of technology. I posted this on December 26th. Somebody got a hold of my debit card number and went shopping on Amazon, of all places. They got one charge of $119, and I think they tried it again, and they were like, oh, he doesn't have enough money, so okay, we're not going to try too hard. I think what they were doing is they were trying to get greedy about things, and it just didn't fly. I got a hold of my card company, killed the card as soon as I noticed, because, I check my bank account fairly regular, and I was like, okay, I remember going shopping on Christmas Day, and, they were like, oh, well, it wasn't you. It's like, no, I was too busy eating, cooking, and hanging out, okay? I was not shopping on Christmas Day. That was somebody got a hold of my stuff, kill the card. So they kill the card, and hopefully Amazon also kills the order, and dude does not get. Because that's just dirty pool, man. People do stuff like that. It's just really, really not cool. Give me 1 second. And that's the other thing, too, is also I am really, really careful. When I go to a place and I make a purchase, you basically plug your card in. Of course, you have chip cards nowadays, but you plug your card in and it says, would you like to sign for this or you want to put in your PIN? I say sign, and then I just hit the enter button. So it does just transfer. So they don't get my PIN number. And that's the other thing, too, is also, if you guys know the way things work with those cards, it is literally a digital handshake between you as the purchaser and the bank, basically, as the carrier, and, of course, the transferee from the person receiving, and it's fully encrypted. So, literally, what it does is it generates a one-time code, and says, okay, I recognize this one-time code. Your bank goes, okay, I'm part in the middle here. Okay, the one-time code. Okay, cool, yeah, kick this all around, and, we'll be fun. Basically, money going from here to there. Everybody recognizes one another. Okay, and as soon as that transaction is done, the code is forgotten. The transaction was locked in place, and it was on a digital virtual conduit where nobody on any place in between could breach that conduit and know what was going on, because it was fully encrypted using the technology on the chip of your credit card. All good stuff. But you got to be smart about the things. You got to look out for, like, card readers, or guys looking over your shoulder to see what, PIN number you're punching in there. I don't care where I am. If I'm basically getting someplace and I'm punching in my PIN number, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to basically head check, and I'm going to look around. If there's nobody else around, I'm going to get real close to the keypad, and I'm going to obscure what I'm punching in by covering my own hand. So I might be punching in, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm looking down for enter, boop, But in the time I was punching in 1, 2, 3, 4, I was completely obscuring my hand, and I was using, different fingers. So it wasn't like I was just going 1, 2, 3, 4, because that's easy to read. These guys are, practicing the art, and they know what to look for in terms of you basically punching in your numbers. But if you obscure your numbers, and if you obscure your PIN numbers, and if you very, very religiously don't use that, okay, let me punch my PIN number in plain sight after doing a transaction, and just do this as a credit card transaction, that's taking a lot of the wind out of their sails. Now, the other thing, too, is also if you're using a really, really busy place, be sure to, shake the device, look at the device. If there's something obvious sticking out of it that doesn't look like part of it, rip it off. Crush it with your shoe. Don't let these guys get away with this type of stuff. Other thing you can do, too, is pull it off, hand it off to the cashier, or tell the cashier, get your manager. The manager comes over, hand him that device. Don't let anybody else get screwed with it. The technology's out there. These guys are obviously smart enough to do the thievery, what have you. But the biggest damn problem is the fact that, they are costing the banks money, which of course means the banks now go, well, gee, we have to regulate our profits somehow. Well, let's just stick more fees, fines, and everything else on top of everybody else. So these guys are making money literally off of us. There's reasons why stuff in some stores is not cheap. because shoplifters steal the stuff. Thieves suck. Thieves make things more expensive. This is a problem with thievery because that's just what they do. They suck. Scrolly. Obvious news items you guys have seen in passing. 92% of Americans think the basic rights are being threatened. Duh. Hello. It's called government encroachment. Of course, the stuff going on in Virginia, all the anti-gun stuff going on here. I think right now that, Northam and all the rest of those Democrats that got elected under Bloomberg's monies, I think they're now seeing that the state is saying, whoa, no, dude, you're not going to regulate the entire state from basically running like off of 3 counties. The biggest problem a lot of these really blue states tend to have is just like New York. If you go to New York, the boroughs of New York City regulate the rest of the state. You go to the rest of New York, it is very, very, very red. It is not that blue. There are a lot of very, very conservative people that do not reside in New York City, but reside in New York State. That said, there's a lot of places you can go in New York State, and the place is just destitute because, they've chased out literally all the industry. They chased out all the technology that was being used at the time for manufacturing, because coming off the Great Lakes, it was very easy to get stuff, from Canada to the United States to Canada, of course, out the Great Lakes and, of course, into the oceans and all the rest of that good stuff like that there. Well, all that technology has pretty much just been laid waste because it's just not good business to do any kind of industry in New York now. It just costs too much. And those people who reside in New York City, well, 1, you're stupid. 2, you actually have to work so very hard to simply earn enough money to survive in the city that it's unworthy of most people, and they're bailing out. I mean, a lot of people living in New York State. It's just not worth it. Virginia, by and large, is also very artificially set up in contrast to New York. New York being very financially based, and of course it generates like 1.6 trillion or something, 1.4 trillion per year, and it's all financially based. It's the stock markets and all the banking and the jewelry and a lot of the headquarters, a lot of businesses, the cachet of being in New York. That's what they're there. I would never put a business in New York City. It just costs way too much. I would never be in San Fran. I would never be in those 2 places. I would think probably Texas would be a better location. In terms of actual geographical locations, the only thing that's really going for New York is it's, geographically, it's on the East Coast of the United States. So it's very easy to access like the rest of the world. There's a couple major airports there. Not to say you got to go to New York to fly out and go to any place on the planet, okay? It's only like, 300 km from there to here, so, 200 miles or so. It's really not that far, okay? It's not that big a deal to drive a few hours to get to New York. It's really not that big a deal to fly out of my general burg. I mean, I have an international airport like 20 minutes away from me. I mean, I can be in the BWI International Airport, and if they don't have a big enough plane to fly out of there, they bump you off to another airport, and then you simply just lay over there like you do with most airlines. It's not like you get in the airport and go, yep, I'm flying out of here direct to, Johannesburg. I'll be going straight away, and it's going to be great. That's not how it works. You don't just get a direct flight straight to South Africa. Usually what happens is you get bumped out, you go to Europe, and then Europe then goes, okay, well, we're going to steer you down there, have a nice flight after your X amount of hours of layover. You don't just leave out of the United States and go, yep, I popped off, 16 hours later in South Africa. That's not how it works. I got a friend that's done that trip a number of times because he's from there, and he's like, yeah, it's usually about a 24 to 27 hour trip. And it's not all flying. So the reality of it is such is that, you don't have to base yourself in New York City to be a successful business. It's just simply a case of the cachet of saying, yes, we're based in New York, New York. I'm not getting it, okay? It's just too expensive, and it's just really, really not worth it. Now, the biggest thing that's going on for Virginia, of course, is Virginia is an artificial economy. They have so much government outgrowth that is placed there that it's just ridiculous. I mean, between the technologies that are, not even going to say AOL because that's a joke at this point, but between all the computer technologies that are based there and all the government-based agencies and all the government-based industries and all the other outgrowth and all these guys that feed off each other, that's primarily what it is. I'll put it in perspective. There was going to be a government furlough. And, of course, anybody who knows the way the U.S. government works is essentially if you're essential personnel, you're not getting paid, but you're still working. If you're non-essential personnel, you have a vacation, and it's not a paid vacation. You are off work until the government figures out that, oh, yeah, we can make a budget and actually pay for people. Now, Maryland immediately was screaming, kicking, crying, carrying on. Oh, my stars and garters, if there's going to be a furlough, we're going to lose $5 million a day. Now, let's just look at this for what it's worth, folks. They said that they were going to lose a tax revenue of $5 million a day. Now, does that show you just how many people work for the U.S. government that live in Maryland? Yeah, well, let's just do a little quick math here. So, $5 million a day, $5 million a day times 365, and hopefully I'm using that right button here. No, that was the wrong button. I always do that on WinCalc. I always do that. So, let's see. So, I think it's the star. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Star 365. That is hang on a second here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. $1,825,000 or $1,825,000,000 per year that the federal government pays to Maryland in terms of federal income taxes. Wrap your head around that. They make almost $2 billion a year off federal income tax. And I do mean like federal income tax, like federal employees getting taxed in Maryland. So that would be 18,000 million, I think, for you guys in Kanakistan. Yeah, something like that. 18,000 million. So, yeah. 1,825,000,000. 1,825,000,000. Okay? It's a lot. But anyway, so that's the reason why Maryland is so beholden to the federal government. Never mind the fact that, literally it is the Beltway circles all around D.C., and of course a good chunk of D.C. is, well, D.C. is actually Maryland. Maryland gave up a chunk of swamp and said, here, build the nation's capital here. L'Enfant said, I don't give a crap. I'm not living here. I'll build it wherever. Okay, sure, great, cool. I got swamp to play with. And that is literally why we have the swamp of D.C. is because it truly is a swamp. So anyway, Maryland being Maryland, Virginia being Virginia, there's really not a whole hell of a lot of difference in terms of the government type guys that basically are like, red staters. The blue state guys, they pretty much are very, very strident. I mean, that's just the way they are. They're not going to switch up. They're not going to do anything different. I tend to think, though, that this thing happening in Virginia, though, has struck a fire. And there's a lot of people now noticing the way that things are working in terms of, like, the guys making political inroads and trying to switch things up and playing games and what have you. This is really an artificial situation in Virginia. What it was is Bloomberg put a lot of money in Virginia to try to get as many blue guys elected as possible. Virginia never really was that blue a state. It was kind of mild purple at best. But you can see what happened with the sanctuary areas, all the sanctuary counties, and there's like 98% of the state, 99% of the state is now sanctuary. So a lot of people really, truly do not follow in lockstep with these guys who are in, was it Winchester or Richmond? I think Richmond's the state capital. That always messes me up. Hang on a second here. I'm gonna make myself honest. I think it's Richmond. I call myself crazy on this one. I used to actually know most of the state's capitals. It is, yeah, it's definitely Richmond. Okay, so I was right for once. But yeah, Virginia is an artificial thing right now in terms of, like, Bloomberg sticking his snoot in and trying to make it as anti-gun as possible. And you're going to read some of his quotes. He's probably one of the most arrogant guys you'll ever see on the planet. I'm trying to keep from cursing here, but he's probably one of the most arrogant guys on the planet. And he is truly beholden to maintaining the hard-charging socialist side of things to say, I'm such a good person that you should do things this way. That's why they got, like, all kinds of legislation in New York about, like, soda sizes and plastic straws and paper bags and all the rest of it. I mean, years ago they said, well, there's too many paper bags. We got to fix this solution. I know, plastic bags. And then they're like, oh, no, these plastic bags are blowing around everywhere. It's like, yeah, paper bags actually would break down in like nature. Plastic bags don't go anywhere for a long-ass time. Yeah, it really, and another thing, too, is also, if you look at the line and the technology and, all the timeline they say of anything, oh, global freezing in 10 years, oh, global warming in 10 years, oh, it's going to be such a calamity in 10 years. Everything is always something happening in 10 years. Now, I can tell you from my own personal experiences, I think it is hilarious to watch these The World is Coming to an End movies from back in the early 70s. I just think they're hilarious to watch. They're just like the best thing ever because you just watch them and you just laugh, knowing that truly these guys were just, oh, everything's coming to an end. We got to fix it right now or we're all doomed. And none of that stuff has come to pass. As a matter of fact, all this global warming thing they've said, well, you get island nations that are 15 feet above sea level. It's not going to take a lot to knock them down. You get a couple good hurricanes, a couple good tornadoes, and you raise the water level about 11 feet, get some, storm swells, you're done, okay? You're really you're screwed. Now, I can tell you from personal experience living in Baltimore, there was a major storm that took place here some years ago called Isabel. Isabel ran the water up in the Inner Harbor area to the point where a lot of the waterfront hotels were just literally, their first and second floors were literally underwater. And let me give you the metric here. So just we can keep myself honest here, because I tried to go, metric. And the water level was 18 feet above normal. Read 5.48 meters. So literally the lower floors of these hotels, and these are nice hotels. I mean, they're waterfront hotels. They're all in, like, a really nice part of Baltimore, and they were done. I mean, literally the first 3 or 4 blocks coming up from the waterfront, they were flooded. And I could point out to people literally where the water line was and where the water stopped. And most time when you see the docks and you walk up to the water and you're looking down at the water is normally like 5 to 6 feet, read like, just sub 2 meters of like below like level of the docks. And it was 5 meters. So we had literally the perfect storm, quite literally. We had the storm swell, we had high tide, and we had literally all this hurricane force wind blowing all the water up. So we had like a miniature Bay of Fundy effect going on. And we never really have this happen because that side of the bay is on the wrong side for the wind to be blowing that direction. So we literally had like a Bay of Fundy, and Logan knows what I'm talking about. I've been to the Bay of Fundy twice. So I know exactly what you're talking about. You're seeing like the reversing falls and all the rest of that good stuff. Nothing more cool than looking out and you're seeing that much water flipping over on itself, and you know what's going on when they explain it to you. Cool stuff. But anyway, so, them going on about all this, green weenie stuff and things going bad and all the rest of it, it's really humorous at this point because you can really just look at it for the timeline, what it is, and you can pick these guys out for all the lies that they've said, and you can see them for what they are. It is what it is. Let me scrolly. I've been also pointing out, like, jokingly, there's a phrase been going on now, they refer to it as the Boogaloo. So, the Boogaloo. And what it is they are referencing the previous Civil War, and they're referencing if there was a next Civil War. And, of course, all these guys in Virginia are going on about, well, we'll just take all your assault weapons. And I posted a video, and I said, you know what, guys? You really, truly might want to rethink that, because once you start pulling that genie out of the bottle, it's really, really hard to stuff them back in. And I posted a video that somebody did on YouTube where the guy took down a good-sized feral hog with a mere .22 long rifle tracer bullet. And it took the guy a long time to get lined up because he had to get lined up on the perfect line of sight. But anytime that you have anybody doing any kind of hunting and they're doing it with an AR-15, you have to remember something important. The average weight of a hog is about maybe about under 100 kg. So the average weight of an average human is under 100 kg. Average height of an average person is about 5'9", 5'10", 1.7 meters. Average pig, 1.7 meters. So there's a lot of crossover there where people are basically doing hog hunting, and they're going, yeah, this crossover is really, really easy to see. If you can take down a pig with this cartridge and this rifle system, this would be a good one for the Boogaloo. And I said, okay, well, here's another way of thinking about it. There's a lot of times where basically you can do a lot with a little, and people have killed African elephants with 22s. So, just word of note, those guys in Virginia that think that they got everything all tied up and they're with a nice little bow and they're going to fix everything, bless you, Mrs. Dude sneezing, and think they got that thing all tied up with a nice little bow and they're just going to take away everybody's AR-15s and everything's going to be fixed, and they'll go, oh, well, those deer rifles are hunting rifles, oh, they're sniper guns, we better take those too. I remember reading this article years and years ago where a guy was going on about, like, the 22 long rifle is a perfect survival rifle. For the very simple reason is it's small, it's light, it's easily used, it's very maneuverable, it's not very loud, and also you could basically equip and have fully armed an entire platoon with the amount of ammunition that you could store in a file cabinet. Yeah, and there's other things that have happened too. I mean, there's interdiction weapons that they use on the Gaza Strip that the Israelis use, you know, the IDF, so the Israeli Defense Force. And what they do is they have guys stationed there with Ruger 1022 rifles, which is a semi-automatic 22 long rifle. And when the Palestinians start, you know, causing too much trouble or start lighting fires or start trying to take down barricades and whatnot, these snipers with 22 rifles will find the ringleaders and go, okay, we need to stop this right now. We're going to stop it real quick. And what they literally do is they shoot the ringleader in the leg. So the ringleader goes down. He's got a bullet wound in his leg. He's obviously not dying, but he's got a bullet wound in his leg. He's got a survivable wound, and it took the fight right out of him. Now, for him to be attended to, is usually there's like 3 or 4 people that now basically scoop him up and carry him off, and the rest of the pissed off Palestinians are like, you shot Akbar. Akbar got shot. That wasn't really nice. It's like, yeah, but you're not trying to take down the barricades anymore, and nobody died. So, you ask anybody in terms of like military service, the worst thing you can do to somebody in the service is not kill them, but wound them. So, when you wound somebody in the combat zone, you don't just take them out and they're dead right there. You know, the guys are like, oh man, you just killed John. John's down. Oh, okay, let's go get these guys. You now have a situation where John is now wounded, and as many people as it takes to motivate John out of the danger zone, you now have taken out of the fight. So, potentially, if John gets whacked bad enough that he's surviving, but he's in bad shape and he needs to get out of there, like, you know, right effing now, you have 3 to 4 people that are now out of the fight. So, with one shot, you have just removed 5 combatants from the combat zone. And this is why I'm going full circle with this 22 thing. If you zap somebody with a 22 and they're out of the fight and they're in bad shape and they need to get trucked off, you haven't killed the guy, but you've taken him out of the fight and you've taken a bunch of other guys out of the fight because they don't have to attend to him. That is the war of attrition that you cannot fight as a government agency. You can ask anybody in Vietnam. The worst thing that we ever had was a simple fact of a simple attritions. That we had guys going down just dying stupid because they just were put in situations where they didn't know who the bad guy was. And if you have a situation like where you go over to, you know, Dirtbagistan, pick one, and everybody speaks the same language, and everybody's scared of the bad guys, or acts like they're scared of the bad guys, and you don't know who the bad guys are, or there's being sheltered by somebody because the bad guy said, look, you're going to shelter us or we're just going to kill you. That's the kind of stuff that they're now contending with. I think that's the kind of stuff that Virginia's going to find itself contending with as well, and they're really, truly not prepared for it, for the very simple reason of they don't know who the guys that they have to fight is. Yeah, you can take pictures of everybody showing up at, like, you know, the Second Amendment rallies and all the rest of that fun stuff. That's not the guys you got to worry about. It's the guys you got to worry about that don't show. The guys that don't show that now go, okay, I have now gotten so sick of this crap that I'm going to make this now a personal battle, and I don't care what happens to me. Those are the guys that the government in Virginia does not count on. And if you look at the way that Virginia is, the whole run back and forth, all up and down, and all the rest of it from the Civil War, very, very southern state. And it's not that south. I mean, truly, when you look at things on the map, they call Maryland the old line state because literally we are the line. The line between Maryland and Pennsylvania was the line for the Civil War. I'm about 40 miles, 60 km south of the Mason-Dixon line, so I literally am in the South. People don't like to claim that, and then they say, oh, it's not South enough. It's like, dude, what defines the North Pole? Well, it's the North Pole. What defines the South? Well, you're South. North versus South. I'm in the South, okay? There's a reason why I'm in the South. It's because I didn't want to go up north, because I didn't want to stay in the north, because I didn't want to be up north, and I stayed down here because I'm lazy. So I should have gone further south. But since I'm here, and I'm dealing with things as they are. But being as what it is, I think these guys in Virginia truly don't know what they've just roped themselves into, and it's not going to get pretty if they push too hard. I'm going to get away from that for a second here. I don't know if you guys want to really know about this one or not, but supposedly the Impossible Burger and the Beyond Meat Burger contain over 20 highly processed ingredients commonly used in pet food. No, just eat meat, okay? I made a meatloaf earlier. It was fine. It contained beef, okay? Just eat beef, all right? If you don't want to eat beef, don't eat beef. But anytime you start making things that aren't things and trying to make them something that it isn't, okay? You're trying to make something that it's not, all right? It is not. Speaking that something that is not is, you guys are going to have to hold probably back on this one, but supposedly Madonna, being 61 years old, has got a 25-year-old boyfriend. Dude, I don't even want to know what's going on with you and her in private settings, but woof. Just woof. Let's just say, you're not the first one to go there, okay? That's all I got to say about that. You are not the first one to go there. Trust me on that one. Oh, that is just wrong. The guy that got nailed in church, I'm not even going to mention his name. The gentleman that actually did do the good shoot and put him down got the highest civilian award in Texas. That gentleman definitely deserves as much kudos as possible, and for him to do it with only one shot, that was not the guy to trifle with. Truly, that was not the guy to trifle with. He was just the guy that basically made his life, well, yeah, he just, he picked the wrong part of town, I'll tell you that for damn sure. He picked the wrong part of town. He picked the place in Texas. Not wise, not wise. Of course, all the stuff going on over in Baghdad, it got secured fast because Trump ain't Hillary. Now, that's all I got to say about that one. A couple of helicopters flew on over there. A couple of Apaches basically came over, shot some flares, and they said, guys, party's over. And pretty much everybody's just skedaddled out of there because they knew after the flares was going to come live ammunition, and everybody was getting serious. This one did crack me up, and I don't know who was the actual party member that said this, but the Chinese have said, quote, private ownership of guns in the U.S. is a serious problem. It must change. End quote. And to that I say, yeah, well, you bring over as many people as you want. We'll have just as much of a shooting gallery as you ever want to, pal. Come on over. We'll have a party. Never really was too terribly impressed with those guys to begin with. Let's see. Scrolly. A second here. Scroll. I don't know if you guys saw this or not. This is like January 2nd, but it cracked me up. There was a setting where the Pope was walking along like some gathering, and, you know, of course, people were asking, you know, oh, your eminence, blah, 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 and of course, he was shaking hands and what have you, and he shook hands with this one lady, and she didn't let go, and he was like, ah, and started slapping her hand like, do not hang on to the Pope, do not hang on to the Pope is sacred, let's go to the Pope, let go, and the video of it was absolutely hilarious, but I love the way that they've posited this. They said, Pope Francis loses temper and slaps woman who grabs him after his New Year's message. she didn't grab him. She just was like, you know, hey, your evidence, and she just was like hanging on to him, and he's like, no, let go, you got germs, icky poo, girl, blah, blah. I cannot do it justice. You really, truly just have to see the video. It's an older video now, but it's really, really funny. Had me in tears. Let's see. Scroll. Oh, Creepy Joe. Joe Biden. I don't know if you guys get to see enough of him up north, but Creepy Joe was at it. He was on fire at a gathering on December 31st. Supposedly, he told a girl, tells girl, anyone under 15, you get something special after the town hall meeting. Yeah, he said exactly this. After this is over, come talk to me. Promise? Anyone under 15, you get something special today. No. If there's a creepiness that has to be placed on anybody, it's Joe Biden. He has the highest creepiness level of anybody I've ever seen. I'm sorry, the gentleman's name in Texas that did the church shooting was, the hero's name was Jack Wilson. Let's see. Obviously, we're now waiting for The Mandalorian for next season. I blew through all 8 shows pretty quick, and I want more. Come on, more, please. More. Scrolly. Let's see. This is comic gold. I don't know if you guys caught this or not. Posted this up on January 4, but if you just look around the internet, you guys will find it. There's a couple of Russian pranksters, and they got Maxine Waters on the phone with them. Russian guys who say that they're Swedish guys. Okay. But the prankster's name is Vladimir Kuznetsov and Alexei Stolярov. And we're on the phone with a Russian girl who said that she was Greta Thunberg. And Maxine was like, oh, that's terrible what Trump is trying to do. It's horrible, it's terrible. And they kept her on the phone, and she was absolutely clueless. Trump was right. She's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Wow. Just not. Not. Scroll more. Of all things, Rashida Tlaib posted up something, and I've told you guys this in infinitum. I've told you this from like probably day number 1. Do not post anything on the internet unless you want it out there, because there's going to be somebody out there to go and take a picture of it with a screenshot, and she did. She posted up a comment and said, quote, Americans have spent decades raping and pillaging my people. What goes around comes around. And she was talking about what happened over in Baghdad. And it was like, wait a minute, that's not wise, and deleted it. But unfortunately for her, somebody got it. So, she got called out for what she is. And she basically can't say anything. Well, that's not me. I didn't really say that. Really? Well, you did. You did. It's right there. You did. And it's on your page on Twitter. There is no delete button on the internet, folks. Trust me on this one. Be very, very careful what you put out there, because it will come back to bite you. It will. It just will. Appreciate all the good wishes that you guys gave me over when I posted the picture on January 6th where I was showing off the, I still got a little spot there, and I'm still a little, actually, believe it or not, I'm still a little bruised up. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but I have like a little green square still. That IV was not fun. That was the bad IV. That was owie. And so he stuck an IV in me because my blood pressure was kind of sketch. And I'm now getting testing and more stuff, and they're trying to, jigger around my scripts, and I got a new one. Yeah, I got a new prescription to play with. Yeah, oh, yum. But the truth of it is like anybody with high blood pressure, and this is generically anybody. You're always chasing the dragon, and you're always jittering things around, and you're always like making your body adapt to the new medication, and you're always addressing the fact that your body's going, oh, well, you just fixed that. I better fix it again, and I want to be high blood pressure, and you're trying to make me not have blood pressure. You're always chasing, adjusting, tweaking, carrying on, and it's going to be a lifetime thing for me, unfortunately. I just have it in the genetics to just have, cardiovascular issues. Heart-wise, I'm fine, man. I went out last night, basically, didn't run, but I walked briskly. My path that I have mapped out in my neighborhood, I got about a mile and change, and I think it's like a mile and a half or something. I knocked that thing out pretty quick and dirty, and didn't have too much problem doing it. It's been a while since I've done it, and it wasn't like my heart was going. It wasn't like that at all. It was just a case of my blood pressure was fairly elevated, and they were fairly concerned, and I fairly felt like crap. So I got looked at, and they're like, not good. We better fix this. So I appreciate all the good wishes, all good stuff like that there. So we are now in the process of trying to figure out who's who, what's what, and why am I doing it. But yeah, I have more doctor's visits, and I got another MRI and all the rest of that fun stuff, and I do not like MRIs. I'm not hugely claustrophobic, but you could ask anybody. They don't like being stuck in a tube that's not even about a meter in diameter, 3 feet or something, and the wall is like right here, the thing's going tunk, 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 for like half an hour. Not fun. Not cool. Didn't like it. Nobody really likes it. I mean, the only time I actually didn't mind the MRI experience is when I had like one of my arthroscopies, and I had an MRI either between or during the process, and it was an open MRI. So they were just shooting my leg. Not a problem. The enclosed MRI shooting my leg, I really didn't like that too much. But, it's basically, it's stuff you got to do, and the technology is what it is. We haven't really got to anything better yet. Like, basically where, Dr. Bones McCoy walks over and goes, okay, we know what your problem is. We're not quite there yet, okay? We still got to climb in the tube and have the thing basically shake like a paint shaker for half an hour. And so that's where we are with that one. I appreciate all the good wishes and stuff like that. So, we're now ongoing with treatment options. And scrolly. Yeah, I just more crap about like Baghdad and the rest of this fun stuff. There is one high note though of all the things that has happened though with all the media ass persons. The media ass persons. Yeah, there we go. The media ass persons. CNN has settled a $275 million lawsuit with the Covington Catholic student Nick Sandmann. Now, because it is a settlement, CNN will never tell you. Sandman is probably locked into some kind of, you will not divulge, you cannot tell anybody, we will take you to court if you ever even think about telling anybody what the number was, this, that, and the other thing. So, Sandman obviously can't say what he got in terms of what the actual cash award was. But let's just put it like this. The lawyer that was representing Nick Sandman was if you look in terms of the laws, guys, in terms of the United States, there's like this guy, and then there's the guy that like is like this guy that's like just under him. The guy that's just under him was the one that represented Nick Sandman. So put it like this. CNN is the first domino to fall, and the rest are going to topple really, really soon. He is going to be one very, very rich kid growing up. And truthfully, with all the crap they put him through, like all the Richard Jewell treatment that they gave him, he deserves it. Now, they said $275 million lawsuit, and they settled. Sean Hannity said if he got anything less than $100 million, he'd be surprised. I would tend to think that if he got anywhere less than $100 million, I'd be surprised. Because typically what it is for a settlement, you know you've got them. And CNN knows they got them. And they are like, oh, snap. We cannot deal with this in the long term. We're going to get hosed. We're going to get bent over. We're going to get bar hogged. It's not going to be fun for us. No, we just need this to go away. Well, if you look at the way that CNN is running right now, they're not the most profitable. They have lost so much market share. It's ridiculous. And this really, really hurt them. I would tend to think if something like this happens a couple times in the course of a year, they're done. They're absolutely done. They'll get bought up by MSNBC, or they'll get bought up by, some other technological liberal trust fund or some such, and saved, because, you can't ever let these things fail, because they're so important, you can't let them fail. But Sandman got big buku cash. Trust me on that one. He is never, ever going to have to worry about money again in his life. And considering what they put him through, he deserves it. And I think anybody else that's ever been in a situation where CNN did something like this, or any other news agency did something like this, and they are culpable, they deserve to get treated exactly the way that CNN got treated. And truthfully, it is how it should be. Because this guy was not a public figure. He didn't need to get treated like this. And they tried to disparage him. They tried to discredit him. And they tried to make his character such that he'd be lower than mud. And if you guys know that saying, what that comes from is it comes from Dr. Mudd, the guy that basically was the one that treated the guy that did the shooting on Lincoln, John Wilkes Booth, was Dr. Mudd. So it was a saying from back then. Your name is lower than mud, and it's M-U-D-D. Now, I'm going a little tangential here, but the Mudd's Road, I've actually been on. I've actually been on the road where that doctor lived, and it's not that far from D.C., really. It really isn't. Anyway, so let me scroll real quick. The whole Ricky Gervais thing, and oh man, that pointing out the pointedly obvious points of badness in Hollywood. Even if he was trying to say it was a joke and they didn't like it, it needed to get said. It was good. There is a gentleman by the name of Imam Muhammad Tawhidi. And he is a imam, read like a religious figure in the Muslim faith. And he's based in Australia. And he posted a picture on Twitter. I want to just bring this up because I thought it was so freaking awesome. But he posted this picture up January 8th. And it was posted up, and it said, while some elected members of Congress sit in Washington, D.C. and condemn the killings of a notorious terrorist, Iraq and Iran celebrate this big step towards freedom. And in Arabic, written on the wall in Iran, quote, bravo/way to go, Trump, end quote. On that note, folks, I think I'm going to be closing out things, but I really appreciate your kind attentions. Those guys in Australia, hope you guys get a handle on those brush fires. It's a horrible, horrible thing, man. That's just, it's sad to see the destruction that you guys are facing right now, but I hope you guys get a handle on it and stop the other people that are doing the horrific things and lighting the fires, man. That's just bad stuff. Well, I'm going to break off on this one, folks. Thank you guys for kind attention. Ran over, and appreciate you guys for hanging out with me. You get the gold star with attendance if you hung out for the whole time. And, of course, this will be archived over on YouTube, so all the dropouts and whatnot, if you guys missed some bits, like it always tends to do on Facebook, it will be archived over on YouTube. Video will be posting up fairly soon. So I'll post that, guys, and you guys can check it out at your leisure, and I appreciate your kind attention. You guys hanging out with me. I know you got many other things to do on Tuesdays, but you guys hung out with me, and I appreciate the kind attentions and good stuff like that there. And let me do my usual, go through all the list of stuff. So Around the Cabin, do be sure to check it out, aroundthecabin.com, Around the Cabin Food, Around the Cabin News, Around the Cabin Buy, Sell, and Trade, Around the Cabin School of Self-Reliance, Around the Garden's Gate, and, of course, Around the Cabin Medicinal Cannabis. And, of course, you can find me on YouTube as 80s Podcast Channel. You can find me on Twitter as 80SPCC. And, of course, you have found me here tonight as DUDEJERKY, and I appreciate all your kind attentions. I know you guys got so many other things to do on a Tuesday, but you've hung out with me, and I appreciate it. You guys hanging out with me and good stuff like that there. So I'm going to break up this one. Ego Tape as always, you know what, you love it, and I'll catch you guys later and break off and good stuff like that there. Have a good week, and catch you guys next week, and, move on smartly. See you guys. Have a good one. Catch you guys. Ready? Caprese chicken lasagna. That sounds good. Oh, that's right. I should turn off the video. Mrs. Dude's like, throwing me videos and like stuff on Facebook, and yeah, it's behind the scenes stuff. I'll catch you guys next week and good stuff like that there. See you guys.